Everybody, Blackninja797 here, and welcome to Draw My Life. So yeah guys, for today's video for 1900 subscribers, we're going to be doing a Draw My Life video. These are videos that were really popular back a couple of years ago, and I personally have never done one until now, and I wanted to do one. Now, I will admit that I'm not necessarily the best drawer in the world, so a lot of these are just stick figures and doodles. But you guys will end up hearing mostly a story rather than seeing professional art. So let me explain from where it all began, from where I was born. I was born on October 28th, 1999, and I was the middle child. However, though, I would not end up having my younger brother Nate until a couple years later. So at the time, it was only just me and my older sister, Christina, and my two parents. Now, even though I have a really happy life now, it wasn't necessarily the easiest to get there, because back when I was a little kid, I had a lot of health issues. I was actually quite a sick baby. Now, my parents didn't know exactly why I was sick all the time. They didn't understand what was going on, and this really stressed them out, made them sad and frustrated. But we all were just trying to figure out what was going on. Well, at least my parents were, because I was still a little kid at the time. I didn't know why I was feeling in pain. I didn't know why I was upset. But my parents, from what they told me, I used to cry a lot, and I used to be kind of sad. And the reason why is actually because of a health condition that they didn't find out until a couple months later that I've actually had all my life ever since I was born. And lo and behold, it was actually anaphylaxis. Now, if you don't know what anaphylaxis is, it's essentially allergies. But however, though, it's on the scale of being able to actually mess up my breathing, and the worst case scenario can actually kill me. I have been allergic for all my life to several different foods and sulfa, which is a medication, and all my life it's just been like there, and I had a whole bunch of doctors that turned my parents down until I found one that was just like, yeah, don't eat that, and allowed me to start actually being healthier because I was avoiding what was going on. But however, though, it wasn't without complications, but we did eventually get there. This led to my mom actually homeschooling me when I was a kid because she didn't actually want to put me in public school with my health conditions. So from my early childhood all the way up until the very last year of me being in high school, I was actually homeschooled all my life. But however, though, being homeschooled wasn't honestly that bad because it allowed me to be able to meet some of my friends that I would have not met otherwise. Now, I understand that the camera is also not really the best here because of the fact that I was holding it with one hand, and then I also had to draw in the other, so I do apologize for the fact that you're looking at my feet. You know, if you guys like feet, then there you go, there's your fetish for the day. But yeah, guys, personally for me, I would say despite my upbringing, where I was sick pretty much all the time as a little kid, I am glad, though, and forever thankful that my parents allowed me to be able to end up giving me the life I have today, because if it wasn't for them, I actually probably would have been dead. I'm honestly thinking that still to this day. Even from when I was a little kid, I used to think that. But however, though, I still had a pretty happy life. I got to be able to play with toys, have friends, play with, other kids, including my younger brother, who eventually would be in my life later. But however, though, I did have some specific things that were my favorites, such as cartoons, and one of them used to be Ben 10. If you don't know what Ben 10 was, it was an old show from 2005 on Cartoon Network. And Cartoon Network had a lot of good shows back around my days. Now it's not necessarily my cup of tea, or even really anybody's for that matter. And one of the shows was Ben 10. Ben 10 was a show that was a very fun cartoon where it's this kid named Ben Tennyson who ends up finding this watch called the Omnitrix when he's out on a summer vacation road trip across the country with his grandpa Max and his cousin Gwen. And this watch that ends up getting on his wrist allows him to transform into 10 aliens originally, but later on he unlocks more throughout the series, and he's basically a superhero. And this was always one of my favorite things back in the day when I was a kid. I always wanted to play pretend and play along. Then later on, a couple years later, this was actually when I got my very first gaming system. Back when I was 7 years old, for my 7th birthday, me and my brother both got the Nintendo Wii. This was like a little bit after it just came out. My family actually was pitching in all together to be able to get this for me and my brother, because we weren't necessarily the most richest at the time. We were kind of poor. Then eventually, alongside getting my first gaming console, I also started to find a love with Nerf guns. Me and my brother would always used to shoot each other and terrorize each other and end up having a big kick out of it. This was a big phase for me because I went from Ben 10 and a lot of action figures to end up liking Nerf guns. I would say I really was interested in Ben 10 for a while, and it probably lasted until about, like, Omniverse, like the one spin-off show. Well, technically not a spin-off, it was just the last season before the spin-off. And then I ended up getting interested in Nerf guns, and then as I got interested in Nerf guns, I started to also discover YouTube, And what I found out through YouTube is so many different people having similar interests to me and actually just sharing their thoughts and opinions on really cool stuff. So I was like, hey, I can do this too. So on October the 9th, 2010, I started my YouTube channel and themed it around Nerf guns. This was my very first set of content that was ever on my channel, over 10 years ago. And it's just so crazy to see from where I was then to where I am now. Drastic shift. Even in the last year, it's ridiculous. So I bought a simple camcorder that I saved up from allowance money that cost like 20 bucks. It was super, super cheap, but I loved it so much. And that's where you end up seeing some of my very first YouTube videos that you see on my channel today, where you get the classic and hello YouTube intro. And then as I got older, personally, I really started to fall in love with YouTube. But I was still at the time really interested in Nerf guns, still interested in gaming. However, though, I was starting to phase out of Ben 10 because it really wasn't my cup of tea anymore once you start to get to the Omniverse era, which is fine. You do eventually grow out things, but I still will forever cherish the classics like the original Ben 10, Alien Force, and of course Ultimate Alien, which were my favorite versions of Ben 10 as a kid. But yeah, Nerf guns were so crazy that I had enough to basically start like my own entire like, you know, arsenal. I had like 3 buckets full. But as I got older, I started to move on from, you know, that to Strange TV, which was the skit videos that you see on my channel with me and my brother. This was from about 2013 onward to 2015, so about 3 years. But however, though, I was still picking up the pieces of my channel and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with them, and then eventually I found a love for gaming. So in 2012, roughly around 2013, I'd say, I started to record gaming videos. I would stick my camcorder in front of my television and I would record off my Xbox 360, which I later get in 2012, which allowed me to be able to play much better games than my Wii could provide. And I had Xbox Live, which allowed me to be able to meet some of my very first few online people and my first set of online friends. But however, though, you wouldn't meet my classic friends until later on, because I didn't even meet them personally until a couple years later. I had my first 2 years of Xbox be pretty much just me with randoms, but it was still a ton of fun. I would play games like Call of Duty, Halo, and Minecraft. Then eventually I would end up playing games, of course, like Overwatch, Fortnite, and still Call of Duty, but now predominantly it's Left 4 Dead 2 and like Minecraft and stuff like that. And then eventually I would end up meeting my friends who I met on Call of Duty Advanced Warfare in 2014. But however, though, I did meet some of my friends earlier. The earliest I met was my friend Joey, who you haven't seen in a YouTube video in a while. A lot of you guys may have not met him because a lot of you guys are new around to the channel. But yeah, I met my friend Joey, or Reefer if you may know him by his alternate name, back in 2012 on Halo Reach through his brother Taylor. I met Murray on Black Ops 2 when I was in 2013 playing Michael Myers. And then I met Jake, Joseph, and a couple of other friends also as well on Advanced Warfare when we used to play custom games through other friends who we don't necessarily know each other anymore, or like we kind of went our separate ways. But it was such a freaking blast to be able to do this. I loved my Xbox 360 so much because it allowed me to not only play so many great video games, but it allowed me to meet my best friends from online that I still end up hanging out with today. I've known Joey for over 9 years. I've known Murray for over 8. I know Jake and the rest of the guys for over 7. Technically, the only ones that are a little bit shorter than that is Tennessee and then Zach. But even then, we still get all along great. We have like 7 of us in this great friendship, and I would not have it any other way. It was honestly one of the best decisions of my life to be able to get that console and be able to get Xbox Live. And as I also continued to get older into my teenager years, because see, I was still a teenager at the beginning stages of the Elgato and getting the Xbox 360. I was like 13, 14, something like that. But now when you start to get into like early adulthood, where I'm in college and I'm also starting to like end up like having like my body change, like I'm getting like a beard, I'm getting like you know, like more bigger, like deeper voice and all that stuff. My balls basically dropped. But yeah, like I end up finding a love for a whole bunch of different things. And the last year or two, I've actually managed to find, like, you know, a whole bunch of interest by, like, playing music and getting into, like, guitar again, which I haven't done since I was, like, 10 years old. I found a new, like, profound love for YouTube again, more than I ever have, and I've been able to, like, go to events and meet some of my favorite icons and people I cherish, like my, you know, I'm trying to figure out the word, but basically, like, role models, there we go. I met, like, Tony Robbins through his online seminars. I actually have John Cena follow me on Twitter, believe it or not. You can actually look it up if you don't believe me. And I actually was able to go to a Brendan Urie concert from Panic at the Disco back in 2018. And now we're into 2021, where we have literally the best year of our whole entire YouTube channel with over 1,900 subscribers. And now, as I'm recording this video, we are officially at 2K, and I am forever grateful to you guys, and I will never, ever, ever be able to repay you back, but I will try my absolute damnedest for making the best content you will ever see. God bless your souls. Thank you for giving me the life that I've always wanted, and I love you guys so fucking much. Thank you for the support over the years.